Alright guys, what is up? And today I'm coming at you with a deck profile for Blackwings, an extremely fun deck to play, I'm not gonna lie. I picked up this deck recently, I've been playing it for a couple months now, and it's just really fun. And a lot of the cards right now are super cheap, so if you have a couple bucks, and you can just go ahead and shovel it out, or you can get the stuff in trades. Because a lot of the cards in here just got reprinted in the Legendary Collection 5Ds box, so they should be fairly easy to get. The Gales might be a little bit harder to get, but he's like one of the main ones you gotta get, but he's not too expensive. He's only like $2 unless you just want to go ahead and drop the cash and get it online. This deck's really fun to play. It's done fairly well against a lot of the more popular decks people are playing right now and against some random rogue decks. But this one's just based on like what decks I run up against locally, or like the side deck at least. So the side deck you can just basically change it up however you want. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. A lot of the effects people know of, because Blackwings have been around since the 5Ds era, back whenever they were good. But I'll just briefly explain what the cards do in the deck. So first, 3 copies of Blackwing Gale the Whirlwind. He's just your tuner, and his effect's really good where you can have a monster's attack permanently. If you control another Blackwing, you can just special summon him from your hand, so you make synchros really easy with him. And after that, 3 Sure the Blue Flame, nice 1800 beat stick. If you kill the monster and he's still on the field, you can sit there and special summon another Blackwing and do even more damage. And it's really good during your opponent's turn if you have Kalut in your hand, which I'll get into him later. But just kill a monster and special a Blackwing out of your deck with 1500 attack or less, but it's an effector negated, but that's not too bad. And 3 Bora the Spear. I'm trying to get the 3rd Ultras for Gale, Shura, and Bora out of the Legendary Collection 5Ds. Just so I can have matching rarities, because I'm a rarity hoard like that. But basically what Bora does is he has piercing damage, and if you control another Blackwing, you can special summon him, and in certain situations he can get pretty good. And this card actually helped me win a game against the weird Shaddoll deck that had a Battery Man engine, which is pretty cool to play up against. But then we have 3 Kaluts, trying to get 2 more of those in Ultra. What Kalut does is basically it's a Blackwing Honest. Whenever a Blackwing control attacks or is attacked, you send it to the graveyard, and it gains 1400 attack until the end of the turn, which is really good. And if you have multiple copies of this in your hand, they stack, so you can sit there and give a Blackwing 2800 attack, which can be absolutely devastating in certain situations. I was playing this deck online against a Lightsworn deck, and the guy tried attacking me over my Blackwing Gale, and I ended up making Gale up to 4000 attack with 2 of these. And it just was devastating, and he just couldn't handle it, and he ended up quitting because he saw what I did with the 2 Kaluts. Then 2 copies of Sirocco. Some people play this guy at 1, some people play him at 2, and some people play him at 3. He's just kind of one of those cards that doesn't really matter. It's just based on personal preference. What Sirocco does, if your opponent controls a monster and you don't, you can roll him without tributing, which is really good with Black Roland, one of the key cards in this deck. But you can target a Blackwing monster you control. It gains attack equal to the combined attack of all face-up Blackwing monsters you control, which is extremely good. Because, again, back to the Battery Man Shaddoll deck, I had this guy on the field, and then I special summoned Bora, and then attacked with Bora after using his effect, and his attack got up to like 4200, which is really crazy. And with piercing damage, it's just really good, but the only drawback is that it's the only monster that can attack that turn is the one that gets all the attack gaining. And after that we have 2 Blizz with the Far North. He's an okay card, he's just a tuner. He can't be special summoned, which is the only downside to him. But you normal him, and he's basically a monster born for a level 4 lower Blackwing and instantly make a level 6 Synchro. Or a 5 if you bring back Kalut. And lastly, 1 Vayu, the Emblem of Honor, and 1 Zephyros. These are just the 2 1-ofs. Zephyros you have to play him, because of course he's at 1. He's a really good card. Vayu, you don't have to play him, but I play him sometimes. You can special him with Shura's effect and make level 5 synchros really easy. And then Zephyros, you can basically just bounce a card back to your hand, special him, and take 400. You can only use that once per duel. And it's really good with Fiendish Chains, because you can sit there and bounce back your Fiendish Chain, summon Zephyros, take your 400, and then reset the Fiendish Chain, which is really, really good. Vayu's other effect is that you can banish him from the graveyard with one other non-tuner Blackwing monster, and synchro summon another Blackwing monster, which you can't really do that, because it's, you'd have to do this guy with Sirocco to make a level 6, because all my other Blackwing synchros are level 7. And that is it for our monster count. And then after that, 1 cards for Black Feathers, and 1 Allure of Darkness. They basically do the same thing. Allure of Darkness, you draw 2 and banish a dark monster, otherwise banish your hand. Cards with black feathers, you banish a Blackwing and draw 2 cards, just a little bit of draw power. And I'll just leave them there. The one MST, because I don't really need one. I mean, I could put another one in there, but I just really want to keep it at 1 because I already have enough back row destruction or back row hate in this deck, so just 1's fine. 1 Pod Duality, because you really want to see Icarus attack or Black Whirlwind as soon as you can. And then just a couple random 1-ofs, Snatch Steal, Raigeki, Book of Moon, then double Upstart, just a little more draw power. And then 3 copies of Blackwall. And this is one of the key cards in this deck. You can win without it, but it's just a lot easier to get your combos going with this card. Because what it does is if you normal summon a Blackwing, you can add 1 from your deck to your hand with attack less than 1 normal summon. With Sirocco and Shura, this just really gets a lot of stuff going. So it just makes your summonings a lot easier. And after the traps, just some random ones. Bottomless, Warning, 2 Chains, 2 Deep Prison, and then lastly 3 copies of Icarus Attack and 1 Raigeki Break just to get rid of back row. But Icarus Attack, you have to tribute a Wing Beast monster and destroy 2 cards on the field. And if you time this right, you can make your opponent neg pretty hard. Because like, if they attack your Wing Beast monster and it gets flip face up, then you can activate this, tribute the Wing Beast monster, destroy the attacking monster, and then destroy something else on their back row, which is really good. And the Raigeki Break is just more destruction, really. And that is it for the main deck. Before I'm going to get to the extra deck, I'll just go ahead and go into the side deck. Which the side deck's just really pretty self-explanatory, but a lot of it's just for stuff I run up against locally. 1 Max C, just a little more draw power against like Shadalls and other decks, just random ones. Just depends on what the matchup is, depends on whether or not I sided him, but most of the time I don't. Maybe Infernoids, but Shadalls is just the main one you want to use it against. And then Battle Fader and Swift Scarecrow ×2. Obviously for Cleaforts. Swift Scarecrow I played over 2 Battle Faders, because Battle Faders they can negate it with Solemn Warning. Swift Scarecrow you just send it to the graveyard and it negates the attack, so it's just a lot better. Unless you have Deep Fissure or Macro on the field, then it doesn't really hurt you too much. That's it for the monsters. And the only spell I play on my side deck is Deep Fissure, just really hurts a lot of decks. Like, there's one guy locally that plays Volcanics, and this really hurt that, and also hurt Infernoids, and the other decks I play, Lightsworn Rulers and all that. It just really hurts a lot of decks that go off of graveyard effects to Burning Abyss as well. Cleaforts, it could hurt them, because their monsters, they would get banished instead of going to the graveyard, because like basically what the Pendulums do is they would go to the graveyard and then back to the extra deck, and instead they would just get banished after they get destroyed. And after that, 2 Phoenix Wingwind Blast, because, you know, it's really hurts your opponent whenever they try to summon a monster, and then you just bounce it back to the top of the deck. 1 Magic Cylinder, again, Cleaforts. 2 Iron Wall, keeps stuff from getting banished, Infernoids, things of that nature. 1 Macro, again, stop decks that run off the graveyard. 2 Geometrio for Burning Abyss. And then 2 Royal Decrees. You're probably wondering why I play this, but it's just for counter fairies or any rogue decks that run a lot of traps. So it's just for that. That is it for side deck, and now extra deck. We play a lot of sync cards because Blackwings are basically just a big synchro oriented deck, but they're really fun to play. And you don't really have to use the sync cards, they just make it a lot easier. 1 Leo, because if you can make Leo, you should play him. He's a really good level 10 synchro. Because what you would do is, normal summon a Blizzard, bring back another level 4 Blackwing, and then special, Bore the Spirit out of your hand, and then synchro him, just make Leo. And if you can make him, he's a nice 3100 beat stick. It doesn't get over towers, but there are ways to get over towers in this deck, because I do run up against a few Cleafort decks that play it. Because you could do Sirocco's effect, because you normal summon it without tributing, and then use this effect, and then it gains 2000 attack, because it's the only Blackwing monster in your field. And then you just attack over it. And the only reason I couldn't get over towers in one duel, which ended up costing me the game, was because he had skill drain in the field, and I just couldn't summon it and do its effect, and I basically lost at that point. But basically Leo, you just summon him. If you can make him, he's really good. Nice 3100, and then he can't be targeted by effects, so he gets over Deep Prison, so you can just sit there and start running over your opponent's monsters and slowly clearing their field. And then 8s, Beals, and Dark End Dragon, because sending stuff to the graveyard is really good, because it gets around a lot of stuff, and then Beals, if you can make him, he's just a big wall. The only time Beals has actually hurt me is against some decks, then they basically big-eyed it and took it, and I'm just like, great, they took my Beals, and now I'm going to lose. And then for the 7s, 2 Armor Master. He's a really good synchro. He's the one you make a lot, because you, so on a level 4, and then you Special Gale, and then synchro for this guy, and then you can't be destroyed by battle. And, at the end of the damage step, basically he can't be destroyed by battle, also he doesn't take battle damage, which is really crucial to this guy, because you basically summon him, and they can't do any more damage to your life points while he's on the field. And at the damage step, you can place a wedge counter on your opponent's monster, and make his attack 0 until the end phase, so which is really good. And then, of course, since we can make 7s, Black Rose, because sometimes you gotta nuke it with Black Rose. And then for 6s, of course, play Yugioh Guardian, just kill a monster, special it back, and 2000 isn't too bad. And then Vulcan the Divine, basically the same reason I played Zephyros, you can just bounce stuff back whenever he's summoned. But the only downside is that the card you return to your hand, and then you return the card, one card you control to your hand, and then one card your opponent controls to their hand, you just bounce stuff back. But the only downside is that the card you bounce back to your hand, you can't activate cards with that effect for the rest of the turn, so you just kind of have to set it and wait. And then Armed Wing, because it's really cool. If he attacks a defense position monster, he gains 500 attack and he gains piercing, so 2900 with piercing isn't too bad for a level 6. And then just 2 5s, Armades and Catastor. Catastor just really hurts a lot of light-oriented decks, or any deck that doesn't run a lot of dark monsters, because then they just can't run over it. Otherwise, Catastor will stop it with their effect. And then, of course, Armades just gets over battle traps, and also hand traps as well. And then for the Xyz monsters, Cowboy, because sometimes you get a Cowboy for game. Ice Beast Zero Fine, I do make them sometimes, but not a whole lot. It just depends on what deck I'm playing. If I have a lot of stuff that stays face up on the field, that's when you want to make this guy. Because what he does is you detach one, and negate the effects of all face-up cards your opponent currently controls, and then he gains 300 attack for each face-up card on the field, including your own monsters and himself. So it gets really big. And then the effects last until your next standby phase. So you basically just make this guy with a couple cards on the field, and he just turns into a gigantic beater that negates everything. And then Dark Rebellion Dragon, he's an alright card. I just picked him up, because one of my friends pulled him in the pack and he didn't really want it, and he figured and I told him I'd trade it from him. But it's just an alright card, and sometimes you gotta make it, just take away the attack of something and just run over it, but he's okay. And then, of course, Heartland Draco, really good. It combos really well with your Black Whirlwinds. And sometimes you got poke for 2,000, maybe 4,000, if the situation's right. So yeah, that's basically it for my Blackwing deck for you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this. This deck's just really fun to play, and I've been playing a lot recently. It's just so much fun. And in the right situations, it can hold its own against certain decks that are like a lot of competitive stuff right now. And this deck does pretty well, especially for how much it costs. Now that Gale's finally back at 3. Blackwings they don't actually have as much power as they used to, because of the way the format's changed and the way the game has evolved, where the decks are a lot faster. But if you play your cards right, it can do pretty well. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, and I'll see you guys later.